Welcome to this bonus video on another aspect that is really going to boost and help your listening skills when communicating with Americans. This video is all about body language, okay, and how it can improve your listening. Specifically, we are going to be talking about some of the more common American body language signals that you can look out for. And we won't talk about everything that can be included in typical American body language, but I will cover some of the main points that I find to be most important for you to understand when working on your listening skills. All right. So what we're going to cover in this lesson, we're going to talk about what is body language and why does it matter, how understanding body language boosts your listening abilities, and common uses of body language by American speakers. So let's get straight into this bonus video material for you. So what is body language? Perhaps you are not sure how to define this term yourself. So body language is defined as the conscious and unconscious movements and postures by which attitudes and feelings are communicated. So these are things that we do both on purpose and without realizing it unconsciously that are showing the different emotions that we want to communicate when we're speaking. So when we're in tune with this body language and we understand it, it's much easier to capture someone's intent or their intention when they're speaking. And something really interesting is that if you look at scientific statistics, data on body language, you're going to see that most of them will agree that between 70 and 93% of all communication is nonverbal. The majority of the studies that I have seen have said 93% is nonverbal, but to be safe, we can put it in this range. Either way, the fact is that our body language and what we're doing with our movements when we're speaking is actually most of the time way more important than the words that are coming out of our mouth. So this is a really key thing to understand when we are listening to other speakers, because if we understand body language, then we already have a huge part of the message that we already can understand. And that is a really big help when we are still struggling with different aspects of listening. So as we mentioned in the intonation video of this course that was a part of the prosody aspect of listening, we use a lot more than words to express our attitudes, our emotions, and our feelings. There's tone that is a big aspect of that, whether we want to sound polite or angry or surprised or happy. So intonation is a big part of that. Body language is another aspect of how we are subconsciously communicating our attitudes, our beliefs, and our feelings. So, how body language can boost your listening. Since nonverbal communication makes up a high percentage of our communication, it's an essential part to understand within a culture when we want to enhance our listening skills for the language that that culture is using. In this case, American English. It shows others how we are feeling and also shows us how others are feeling. So we can look to body language to enhance our understanding of whether someone is in a good or a bad mood, if they feel comfortable or uncomfortable, if they are excited or if they are sad. So we really want to be in tune with how other people are feeling because that will help us listen better to them. And it's a key element in establishing rapport with someone. Rapport is a word that is really important and that you will see talked about frequently when you listen to things about entrepreneurship or business, the workplace, being professional. Rapport is a big part of this, but it's something that we do even when we're not in professional situations either. If you're not comfortable or familiar with this term, here's a definition for you. Rapport is a close and harmonious relationship in which the people or groups concerned understand each other's feelings or ideas and communicate well. So establishing rapport is all about just finding that common ground, understanding each other. How are you feeling? How am I feeling? How can we meet in the middle and make our communication the most effective possible? That is rapport. So body language is a huge element to this, okay? And anytime you want to give a presentation or talk in public, body language is a main key factor and element. But it really helps our listening, because if we can understand already what someone's intentions are or what their tone or attitude is just by reading their body, we already have the majority of the message understood. And that will help us know what to look for with keywords when we are listening. And something that I would encourage you to do as we go through this video is that when I'm showing you this list of common body language cues that are used in American culture, I want you to make a cross-cultural comparison between what is common for Americans to use and how you would interpret these movements and what they would mean in your native culture. Across Spanish-speaking countries, there's a wide variety of different body movements and hand gestures that can be used to communicate different ideas. So perhaps certain gestures that are used in Spain are not common in Mexico or in Paraguay or in Chile. So all of these different movements might mean different things to you based on your native Spanish-speaking culture. Okay, so take that into consideration so that you can compare what they mean, because those differences are going to be the points where you are most likely to have some sort of miscommunication or misinterpret what someone is trying to tell you when you are listening to them or when you're watching a movie, because you're already expecting to see something else. But in American culture, these things might mean something different. So I'm going to go through a list of some of the more common body language cues to look out for. We're going to cover some different aspects. The four main ones: we're going to talk about personal space, we're going to talk about eye contact, hand gestures, and different body postures. Okay, so those are the four main points that we're going to cover with body language. Now, for personal space, a really key point or clue on personal space in any culture is how you greet someone. So how you introduce yourself or say hello in a language can really give a clue as to how someone perceives personal space in their culture. Many Spanish-speaking cultures are much closer in their personal body-to-body connections or touching other people. It's much closer than in American culture. It's very common to give kisses on the cheek when you meet someone or give people hugs much sooner, but that's not as common in American culture. So this is something to look out for when you see people greeting each other or when you meet new people and they're communicating with you. In American culture, you may have heard people talk about their personal space, their personal zone, their bubble. They might say, "Oh, you're in my bubble," or "Get out of my bubble." This is something we often explain to children. In my experience, something that we often explain to children because maybe they invade our personal space and we have to show them what the norms or the rules, the customs are for personal space in American culture. So this refers to the space that feels just too close for us. And if you come into that space and I don't know you very, very well, I may feel uncomfortable. Okay, so it's important to understand how much space someone needs so that when you're listening to them and you are communicating back, there is a level of comfort in the conversation. And as a general rule, you can try to stay about one arm's length away from someone. So if you hold out your arm and get to the end of your hand, more or less, that's where someone could comfortably be. And you could be having a normal conversation with them and it would feel really comfortable. Okay. If someone feels that you are too close to them, they'll probably just take a step back and you can know that that's a cue that you were too close. but they probably take that step back unconsciously and they don't even think about it. So don't worry that you are offending someone if you took a step too close to get to them. It's really okay. They'll just take a step back. However, if you then keep invading their personal space again and again, and you keep getting closer, then it might feel really uncomfortable. I have experienced this in Spanish culture sometimes, where I would subconsciously take a step back because I felt people were talking really close to my face. So I would feel uncomfortable and I'd take a step back. And as they kept getting closer and closer and closer, and I kept backing up and backing up, it got to a point where I would literally have my back against a wall. I couldn't go back any further, and I felt that I had no escape. And it was really uncomfortable for me. So try to stay about an arm's length away from Americans when you're speaking. And you can judge and gauge what you see on American television shows or movies. How far away do people stand from each other? And how far is that distance when they are in a close relationship, when they're really good friends or family? Because in those cases, we'll get very close together. But when it's someone that is an acquaintance or you just met them, we'll have that further distance, an arm's length. Okay, so something to really be aware of that's really important for American culture. Our next aspect of body language we are going to cover is eye contact. So as you are listening, try to make eye contact as a general rule with the person that is speaking around 60 to 70% of the time. You don't have to be looking at them super fixed in the eyes and never look away. That's a bit too intense. But normally, to be a good listener, we want to look at their eyes or in this zone. So around the eyes, forehead, middle of the nose sort of area most of the time. It may be tempting to look at someone's mouth when they're speaking if you are a visual person or you like to rely on that to understand better what someone is saying when you're listening. But try not to look at their mouth at all. Really just focus on trusting your ears. Trust that you will understand what they are saying and keep your attention more up here. Okay? And here are some things to be aware of if you don't make eye contact. This is what people may think of you. If you don't make eye contact, they may think that you are lying or being dishonest about something, or that you are embarrassed or ashamed, that you lack confidence, or that you're just not interested, that whatever they are talking about bores you. So you look away because you don't care what they're saying. So as a good listener, on top of trying to just take in what everyone is saying, try to be aware of your body posture and how you are making eye contact with them, because that will help boost your communication with them. And when you are speaking and other people are talking to you, pay attention to their eye contact and body posture when they communicate with you, because that will show if they feel comfortable with you, or if they are being dishonest, or if they feel shy and awkward and they want to look away. So pay attention to these cues. Next, let's go into some common hand gestures. So I'll talk about some positive hand gestures, and then we'll go into some that are a bit more negative normally. So positive hand gestures, a pretty common one that I would say is the same in most Spanish-speaking countries, based on my knowledge, is raising your hand. So this would be in like a professional meeting or a school or academic environment. When you want to share something or you have a question, you raise your hand politely so that people know that you have something to add. Next is a thumbs up. If someone gives you a thumbs up, it means, oh, that's good, or cool, or I like it. That's why when you go on Facebook, to give a like is a thumbs up, okay? Next, a high five. This is something that's really American. A high five, which is when you put up your hand, the other person puts up their hand and they go, high five, high five. This is typically used in more informal settings, and it's to express things like congratulations or excitement about something that's going on. So maybe you tell me that you got a job promotion and I go, oh, way to go, high five. That's awesome. So happy for you. And to make this hand-to-hand connection, if you have a different height from someone, maybe they're much taller than you or shorter than you, sometimes it can be hard to actually reach their hand, and it feels awkward to try to give a high five and miss someone's hand and actually not touch it. So as a rule, what people say is that if you look at someone's elbow when you're giving a high five, then that will help you to give them a high five better or in a more natural way. I have very bad hand-eye coordination personally, so I always try to look at someone's elbow so that I don't miss their hand when I'm trying to give a high five. Something to take into consideration if you also have bad hand-eye coordination. Next, waving. So this is to get someone's attention or to greet them from really far away. Like, hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a long time. Or maybe you are on the other side of the room at a social event and I want to say, hey, Angela, come here. I have something to tell you. So waving is a very common thing. And the classic handshake. So this is more for formal situations or when we just want to be a little bit more professional. So this could be when we meet a new colleague or you meet someone in an academic setting, or you meet a friend of a friend. So they are an acquaintance, you don't really know them yet. Like, hey, my name's Kayla. Nice to meet you. And for handshake, we want our grip, our hand to be pretty firm, but not so strong that you break the other person's hand. We don't want the other person to feel uncomfortable, but a firm handshake is something that's very positive in American culture. So this could be when you meet an athletic coach. Maybe you're playing on a soccer team or a football team and you meet the coach. You would introduce yourself by giving your hand, giving a handshake. Or your new landlord or a professor that you just met. So this is a very common thing. On to some negative hand gestures to watch out for. So these are things that we don't want to do, or if you see other people doing them, then you can know that, oh, maybe this is a bit rude, or they feel a bit negative or frustrated about what's going on. So one of them to be careful with is pointing with your index finger specifically. So this finger right after the thumb. So with your index finger, when you point, it can be to point someone in the right direction, like, oh yeah, the store is over there. The store's right there. But it also can be used to point at someone that you were talking about. And we are taught as children that it's rude to point, and oftentimes it is, because if you want to look at someone and say something about them and you point, then other people might be thinking you're speaking negatively about someone or gossiping. So pointing is something that we try to stay away from. And if you see other people pointing, it often has a negative connotation as well. Next, if you see someone have really clenched or tight fists when they're speaking, this might indicate that someone is angry or frustrated. So when they get really tense and they clench their fists, this is an angry thing. Okay, so you'll know that someone does not feel very good if you see them doing this. Another one, air quotes. This is used to quote someone or say exactly what they said, quote, but normally we use it in a sarcastic manner. So for example, if you tell me that you are sick and you cannot come to my party tonight, but I know that you're not sick, or I don't believe that you're sick, then at the party, when people ask, hey, where is Dave? I might say, well, Dave is sick today, so he can't come. And that's meaning that I know or I feel that you aren't actually sick, that you are giving me an excuse, and I'm not happy about it. So air quotes are often used in that sense. Or you could say that, oh yeah, Angela, she thinks she's a really good player, which means that she's not actually a good player at a sport. She is actually pretty bad, or that's what I think, but I know that she thinks she's good. So air quotes are often used to say a word, but actually mean the opposite of that word. So watch out for air quotes when you see people communicating with them, because there's another message behind that you should look out for. Now let's talk about some body postures. I think body posture is one of the biggest things to be aware of when we're speaking. So the first one I want to mention is when we lean forward. So that could be like when you're in your chair or you're at the table and you lean forward to listen to someone. And this shows your interest. You are interested, you're paying attention to what someone else is saying. So it's a really positive thing. We don't want to lean forward too much where we're in someone's personal space, but just enough to show interest. Like, oh, wow, that's really cool. Tell me more. Leaning forward is a positive thing. Now, leaning back. So when we're in a chair and we lean back, it can show that we're relaxed, or maybe we are relieved. Like, oh, what a relief. I finally fixed my problem. So leaning back can just show comfort, relaxation, or relief. Now, crossed legs. I have a picture to show because you cannot see me crossing my legs, but crossing legs while sitting is simply a comfortable way to sit. So normally when someone sits with crossed legs, someone's just being comfortable, they're feeling like they're at ease, or you will often see women who wear skirts or dresses at a professional event. They'll cross their legs so that their legs are not open when they are dressed, not in pants. So it's just a way that we can sit comfortably and with ease. Now, crossed arms. Be aware of crossed arms. So if I cross my arms when I'm speaking to you or when I'm recording this video, then it can mean that I'm not interested in what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm insecure about what I'm saying. I'm like, yeah, maybe crossed arms are a negative thing. I'm not sure. Or maybe I just am shy and I cross my arms. I feel insecure. Or it could be when I'm angry. I'm really upset about something that happened and I cross my arms in my chair and I don't talk to anyone. So crossed arms, we're just closing off our body. So that's a negative thing. If you want to have open communication with someone, you want to have your body nice and open. Next, slouching. So slouching is this movement where instead of having our back and our shoulders nice and straight, we do this. So you hunch your shoulders, everything is like curved, and it's considered bad posture. And that's often received in a negative way and associated with being, like sad or even lazy. Lazy people have this connotation of if you're lazy, then you slouch all the time. Okay, so when you see someone standing up straight, it shows that they're being more confident, they feel happier, they're in a better mood. So it's something that you can do as well to transmit that emotion to others. And next, nodding of the head. So we use, and I would say that it's pretty much the same in most Spanish-speaking cultures that I'm aware of, that we use up and down, head shake for, oh yeah, sure, and left and right for, oof, no way, I don't want to. So be aware of this when you are listening to other people, because if they are talking to you, and you are like, oh yeah, let's do that, then they will feel good. They'll feel confident. They are getting reassurance that you feel good about the communication or that you want to do something. If you're doing this the whole time, then they will know that you don't feel good about an option they're giving you or you don't want to participate in an activity. So nodding of the head communicates a lot. And when you look at other people around and see that they shake their head and like, yeah, when someone is speaking, then it shows that they're listening attentively. So if when someone speaks to you, or when you were speaking and they communicate back, if you see them doing this all the time, like, oh yeah, that's a good thing. It means they're listening very well. So when you are listening, it's a good thing to do to show people that you're interested and that you are actively paying attention to what they're saying. Now, what we have covered in this bonus video about body language, we've talked about what body language is and why it matters, how understanding body language boosts your listening skills, and common uses of body language by American speakers. So as a challenge for you to keep practicing or working with body language if you feel that it's hard for you to understand American body language, is to try watching clips of American movies or TV series and first watch them on mute, so silent, no sound, and try and guess what is going on just based on their body language. Are they happy? Are they sad? Are they having a good, positive argument? Do they feel negative about what's going on? And after you think that you know what's happening based on just purely the body language, listen to the scene again and see how close you are. And paying attention to body language on top of the words and intonation someone is using is a really, really great way to understand better and to boost your listening skills when speaking. So there's a challenge for you that you can work on moving forward. That is all for this bonus video, and go ahead and take a note or write down the things that you find to be different in American body language versus how you naturally express your body language in your native culture. All right, that's all, and good luck with the challenge.